All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to the second video of key levels in Malaysian SNR. All right. So, in the first video, we actually spoke about few things. We majorly focused on these two key levels we have over here, the V-shaped key level and the A-shaped key level. And I was able to explain to you guys the fresh levels and the unfresh levels, how to mark and identify this type of levels. All right. So for this second video, we're going into what the second batch, which is going to be RBS and SBR. Okay. So I don't want you to get confused or get probably um, you don't probably understand what we are the point we are getting to, or you probably are already confused at this point in time. And don't think too much about the names. Okay, you can call it whatever you want to call it. I'm going to explain what the names stand for. They are all abbreviations here. Okay. All right. When we talk about RBS, we're saying resistance break on support. Okay. So that's what it means. That's what Malaysian SNR called it. Okay. That's what they call it. So they say resistance break and then turns into support. Okay. That's the same way we all know about support and resistance. I believe when you probably started trading as a beginner, one of the first few knowledge you gathered was understanding what a support level is and a resistance level is. Right? Beautiful. So something like this. Let me give you guys an example. So the zone here, let's say there's a key level here, there's a zone here. Now this zone here, let's say price starts from this point here. Let's start this zone below. And now this zone price got here starts to react from this zone and starts to push itself up upward, right? Creating higher highs, higher lows, right? Beautiful. Now, price reacting from here and pushing itself upwards. This zone at this point in time is serving as a support. Just like you're explaining what supports a foundation, a building. Okay, we have a foundation for that building to be able to stand. Okay, so this is like a support that keeps price pushing to the upside or moving to the upside. So the peradventure price now gets to this other zone, which is our resistance zone. Then you see price what? Tap this zone, give you a reaction, let's say market structure shift or a change of character or a break of structure, right? Sorry, a break. So now we start having price moving what to the downside. We have series of lower lows, lower highs, 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 back to this level, right? Beautiful. So we have here to be a resistance, resisting, pushing price back, not allowing price pass through this particular level here, this particular key level here. Okay. So that's like a layman example of what a support and a resistance stands for. All right. So now let's come back to what we have here. Now, when we talk about RBS, we're talking about resistance, break, turns, support. Please let's take those words carefully. Take them one after the other. Resistance, break, and then turns what? Support. All right. So what do we understand by that? It means a resistance, something like this. Let me give you guys an example. We have this to be a resistance here, right? Beautiful. This is our resistance zone. Good. Now, this resistance zone, as price got to this point here, let's say price creates this move here, go to our resistance zone. We're expecting price to hold, but what does price do? Price broke it. Price broke this resistance zone where we're expecting price to hold. The moment price breaks this resistance zone now turns into a support zone and price comes back to retest this support zone. It's likely that price comes back to retest this support zone and then what? Start taking itself to the upside, a continuation of the uptrend, right? So what has happened here is that this zone, which we formerly known as a resistance zone, has been broken and has turned what? Support. Okay, that's where they got the idea of what? RBS. Okay, so that's where they got the idea of RBS. Okay, so it's just resistance break and then turn what? Support. So we have zones like that. So don't say because price has broken this resistance, it is no longer a valid key level. No, it can still be used as a support. The moment it is broken, it is used as what? A support. For smart money concept traders, we call it what? We call it a breaker block, right? It's called a breaker block. For those of us who trade smart money concept, or you've probably had one or two things when it comes to structural liquidity and POI, you definitely understand that it's called breaker block. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys all how they all connect. They are just giving different names because they came from different concepts. So don't get confused. They all still perform the same function. I said this in my first video that do not get confused. Do not try to put yourself in a situation where you want to start learning some certain names and then or you feel like there's something extra. There's nothing extra, to be honest. There is nothing extra. They perform the same function. As long as they can perform the same function, the function is what matters, not even the naming convention and whatever name is being given to all this. Okay, the function of what this does for you is what matters. Okay, so let's now go back to this. So an RBS basically is just when resistance break and that resistance turns what? Support. Now when we talk about SBR, okay, so SBR means what? Support turns what? Support breaks and turns what? Resistance. Beautiful. So let's now give you an example of what we mean by, so I'm going to, let me indicate this for you guys so that you don't get confused. So this is RBS. Make it absolute. All right, so we have this to be RBS. Okay, beautiful. Now, let's now give you an example of what SBR. Okay, that is support breaks and turns what? Resistance. Beautiful. So let's come back here. So let's say we have price coming from the downside. Okay, price is creating lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. Now, price has gotten to this zone. This zone now is going to serve as a support, right? Let's say this zone is going to serve as a support, right? And price gets to this point here. You're expecting price to probably move to the upside and start pushing to the upside. But what happens? Price breaks out of the support zone and then retest that support zone and has a likelihood of what? Continuation to the downside. Okay. So we see price coming down to this point here, right? So what has happened here? This resistance, do you understand, was broken and then turned. This support here was broken and then turned what? Resistance. Okay. This support here was broken and then turned resistance. Let me give you another example so that we don't get confused. Okay, so let's say I remove this now and we come back here. This is a support. We know this to be a support because it was what price used to push itself from this particular zone to the upside. This served as a support to push price to this upside. So let's now say price has retraced back and then price is coming back. Price is coming back. Price is coming back to that zone. Okay, creating lower highs, and then price taps that zone. We're expecting a reversal concept or price to create a market structure shift, a change of character, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so then price does what? Push itself to the upside. Instead of creating this reversal concept, instead of that, price does something like this and breaks out of it. Okay, so what has happened here? This support has turned resistance. Okay, this support has turned resistance. You can see how price broke out of it, came back, used it as a potential key level to retest and continue to the downside. Okay, so that is what we know as what? SBR. Support broke and turned into what? Resistance. Okay, so now let me give you guys live chart examples. Okay, so like this is XAUSD chart, and I'm going to be using the daily for the meantime. I'll scale down to 4 hours to show you guys more examples. All right, beautiful. Let's now give you a very good example. So if you notice something, the last time I showed you guys this V classic level here, this is a very beautiful example of what? Now, this level here, price used it to push to the upside, right? Beautiful. And when price broke this key level, we're expecting this key level to hold. This is what? A support level, right? But what happened? Price broke down and then retested it. So this is what? SBR. The support broke and turned into resistance. You can see this was a support that pushed price to the upside. Then price came back. We're expecting a retest from this key level. This was a key level. We're expecting a retest and reaction from this key level. What happened? Price broke it and then came back to retest it, to use it as what? A resistance to push itself to the downside. Okay, so that's an example of what? A support that breaks and turns into what? A resistance. So this is what? SBR. Okay, beautiful. Now let me give you guys an example of RBS. Okay, because we want to see resistance that broke and then turned into what? Support. All right, so let's give an example here. Look at this example here. I'm going to let me have this. Okay, I'd have loved to use this, but this can be way better. Okay, so look at this here. This should have been hold on. Let me give you guys a very clean example so that you don't get confused. All right. Okay. So look at this here, guys. Now we have this level here, this level, even though this level is Unfresh, right? So we have this A classic level, right? Beautiful. Now, what do you notice? This is a resistance level. Imagine this level was fresh and price starts to push to the upside, right? We're expecting that this level will be what retested. If imagine we did not understand the concept of a fresh level and an unfresh key level, which I will later explain to you guys. Some certain levels that might be unfresh, but they can still be fresh at the end of the day, which I'll explain to you guys shortly. So when price got to this level here, what happened? Price broke out of this level and came back to use that same level. So this is what a resistance. Okay, this is a resistance. Are you there? And then price broke out of that resistance, came back to test that resistance level and used it as a support to push itself to the upside. So what just happened here? Price pushed itself, lower high, lower low, higher high, higher low, sorry, pushed, created, broke out of it, retested the level and then continued to the upside. Okay. So this zone here, this resistance zone was used as a support. So this is what RBS. Okay, this is resistance turn what support. So one thing you should know in all this concept before we come back and show you my examples, one thing you should know in all this concept is that whenever price breaks out of a key level, that key level becomes fresh. So something like this. Remember, look at this. This level here, if we look at it, we can say, oh, the reason why this A classic level did not hold is because what? It is not fresh, right? But the moment price breaks out of it, that level becomes fresh because that level turns into what? RBS. Okay? So this level that was formerly not fresh because it has been mitigated here, right? It has been used to make this move to the downside here. It was retested, it was tested, pushed, so it is not fresh. But the moment price breaks out of it, this level becomes fresh. I hope that doesn't confuse you guys. I'll repeat myself again. Let me give you guys another example. All right, so we have this here. We have this A classic level here, right? Beautiful. This is a pure resistance, right? You can see. Okay. Now, this level, after this A classic level was created, price retested it, used it to displace itself down towards this V classic level here. And this V classic level held and started pushing price back to the upside. Beautiful. But you would have been expecting that, oh, price obviously is not going to hold on this level because it is unfresh. Beautiful. That's a very beautiful concept. And price breaks out of it. The moment this break happens, this level is now fresh. This particular level is now fresh. This is now what? Resistance that are turned into what? Support. Okay. And then if you're an SMC trader, ICT trader, and you know this as what? A breaker block, please take it as a breaker block. That's what it means. That is its function. The same way you have other blocks, breaker blocks, mitigation block as your key levels. It's the same way Malaysian SNR concept has its or key levels. They just give it different names. So don't get confused, guys. Don't get confused about this. Don't mind the naming convention I'm giving to you. I just want you to understand that this is one of the key levels Malaysian SNR recognize. Okay, these are one of the key levels they recognize. Okay, beautiful. So price comes back here, taps on that zone, and then starts to react. Okay, so this is an example of what? A resistance that turned what? Support. Beautiful. So now that we've now learned about these levels, we've learned about these levels. Let's move further to other few levels. Okay, I can show you guys some examples before we move there. All right, let me see. Okay, so if you look at this one here, let's look at this. Now you can see this formerly would have been what? This is a V classic level. We're expecting price to come back up and then what? Push itself to what? The upside. This is a V classic level. But price broke it, retested it, and then dropped back down. You can even still see price coming back again for the second retest before dropping back aggressively. Okay, so this is what? This is a support that turned into what? A resistance. Okay, this is an SBR. Okay, so please don't get confused. Just look for A levels, A classic levels, and V classic levels that has been broken and retested. Okay, that is the version of what these levels we're talking about here. So basically, essentially, what we're talking about here is A levels or V-shaped key levels that have been broken and retested, just as you see in my diagram here. Okay, sorry, hold on, guys. Just as you've seen in my diagram here, you can see this is what a V-shaped key level. Price broke it, come back to retest. So when price breaks it with this candle, you expect price to come back like this, retest, and then push to the downside. Okay, so same thing here. This is what is an A-shaped key level, but price broke out of it, we expect price to come back, retest, and push price to the upside. Okay, beautiful. So this is the whole concept of what? RBS and what? SBR. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any question, you can always send me, write down your comments on what you probably want me to talk about next. Okay, so but in my next video, we're going to be talking about the remaining key levels, which is going to be OCL, QM, and then what the popular other block. Okay, so thank you guys very much. Let's click on the subscribe button if you want to get more video concepts like this. You found this educative, you enjoyed this video, and let's click on the like button also. Thank you so much.